A report from Bloomberg late on Friday, Anglo American deciding the Penny Consortium is their preferred bidder to buy De Beers. The Penny Consortium has been put together by a former CEO at De Beers, Gareth Penny. Diamond prices, though, under intense pressure because of the rise of manufactured diamonds. Paul Zimnisky is an independent diamond industry analyst. Paul, good evening and thanks for your time. Anglo American's been looking for a buyer for De Beers for about 2 years. I mean, they announced the planned sale in 2024. Why do you think it's taken so long to get to this point?
Yeah, thanks for having me. I guess just to note, so the De Beers divestiture is part of a larger scale restructuring at Anglo American. And, De Beers is 85% owned by Anglo American, but 15% by the government of Botswana. And going forward, the government of Botswana, Angola, and Namibia have all expressed interest in taking a stake of the new entity. So I think it's just the bureaucracy of, having multiple governments that tend to move a little bit slower than, say, just a private entity. I think that's ultimately what's been slowing down the process.
Okay, all of those things have happened. I mean, so many people seem to have written off the diamond industry. They look at the rise of manufactured diamonds. They think there's no future for the natural diamond industry. Prices will never recover. Do you go along with that view?
There's a few ways to look at this. So we've had synthetic diamonds for 50 plus years now. And when you look at the industrial abrasive category of diamonds, those used in, say, construction equipment or mining equipment, the synthetic diamonds have had a 95% plus share of that market for decades now. So the point being is we have the capability to produce basically as many diamonds we want. We can produce them in the qualities, the sizes that we want. But the lab grown or the man-made diamond, industry has only taken about half of the jewelry market. So I think that's, an indication that, consumers still do want the real thing when it comes to a more emotional purchase, like a piece of jewelry.
The problem is that, as I understand it, I'm no expert on this, but you can't really tell the difference, and no one wants to walk around with a certificate. I mean, yes, you might want a very big diamond, but you don't want to have to carry around its document of authenticity with it.
So it's important to know that you can distinguish between the two with certainty. There's different ways of looking at the fluorescence characteristics of the diamonds. You could use a microscope and actually see growth patterns with, say, that the man-made diamonds, for instance. But I think it's an interesting, broader concept. I think soon enough, you aren't going to be able to tell the difference between, say, AI-generated music and movies and writing. And actually, we're probably already there now. And I think people are going to actually want to gravitate towards the real and the symbolism of what's real. And I think, there's not too many better ways to do that than with a natural diamond that you wear every day. And I think, that there's something to this here. And I think there's an opportunity for the diamond industry to kind of really play into this and capture this.
For that to work for De Beers, they would have to control a very big share of it. And I mean, there are lots of different ways to understand the model, but the fact is that they were seen as a cartel. They really did control the flow of diamonds into the world, natural diamonds, that is, for a very long time. They clearly don't have that power now.
So just to be clear, the monopoly was dismantled in the early 2000s. So it's already been well over 2 decades since we went through that process. So I would argue that when the industry does what it needs to do to generate demand for its product, people want diamonds. I mean, if you just go back 4 or 5 years ago, the industry had record demand in 2021. I mean, the following 4 years have been extremely difficult. There's multiple reasons for that. Like you said, the man-made diamonds, diluting the share, that's one of the factors. But we've also had, a significant slowdown in China. China is has been the second largest consumer of diamonds the last 20 years. And that market, is down 50% the last couple of years. So there's multiple factors at play here. But I think at the end of the day, you have to remember, diamonds are an emotional purchase. It's not a practical purchase. And when the product is merchandised and marketed properly, consumers do want it. And I think maybe the industry lost its way a little bit the last few years, but I wouldn't count it out.
Okay, so then that means there might well be value in De Beers in the future, and this might be a good time to buy.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue it is a value purchase. Right now, kind of given where we are, given how low sentiment is. Um, I mean, De Beers has a very long, resilient history, and I think with enough capital and the proper execution, I really do think it could flourish again.
Hmm. This is all critical, not so much to our economy, although it matters. I mean, we saw the Venetia diamond mine being production there being paused for 2 years. But for Botswana, it's absolutely critical. And I mean, people have been talking about the sort of resource curse, what happens when the resource is over. There's still plenty of diamonds in Botswana and in Limpopo. Do you think that there will still be value for Botswana and South Africa from those mines for some time to come then, if it's all properly managed?
Yeah, so like you said, I mean, Botswana is still very reliant on diamonds. I would say Namibia is as well. Again, they have expressed interest that having a direct seat at the table with whatever the newest iteration of De Beers is going to be. They want to be active. They want to continue to develop the supply chain in Botswana. So Botswana now has a major trading center. They want to continue kind of working their way down the supply chain to create more jobs. I mean, Botswana is one of the best stories for a natural resource that you had capital and taxes from the resource were actually allocated in a way that resulted in public health care, public education. It's a real success story. But when the industry is in a downturn like it is right now, there's an impact the other way as well, and it's actually quite sad to see kind of what they're going through at the moment. And I wish there was a little bit more sympathy, from people that want to talk about maybe the some of the negative attributes of diamonds, but it could have positive attributes. But when we're in a situation like we are right now, it's directly impacting people's livelihoods.
Paul, thanks so much. Paul Zimnisky is an independent diamond industry analyst.